Does that help Tesla? I mean, you had Tom Waltz, who's a huge jerk, right? You know.
They thought they would see just a factory. Ordinary workshops, assembly lines, hundreds of employees in uniforms, and standard Tesla Model Ys rolling off the assembly line one after another. But what the journalists found inside changed their perception of Tesla forever. The cameras captured something that had never been seen in any official report. A secret workshop, inaccessible even to some employees. Automated capsules moving without rails. A prototype car that is not yet on sale and, according to engineers, can accelerate to 100 kilometers per hour in 1.5 seconds. This is not just a new generation of electric cars. It is something else, technology that even key investors are not allowed to see.
We've accomplished more in 43 days than most administrations accomplished in 4 years or 8 years, and we are just getting started.
He praised all the domestic actions he has taken so far on immigration.
And I deployed the U.S. military and Border Patrol to repel the invasion of our country.
And spending cuts.
We are draining the swamp. It's very simple.
The first rumors appeared back in March. An anonymous source claimed a factory within a factory had been built at one of Tesla's plants in Nevada, a disguised research cluster where models designed for 2030 are being developed. There was little information, and no one believed it. But then an independent film crew was granted exclusive access to the Austin facility. And in an instant, everything changed. The camera accidentally captured the moment when a technical malfunction caused the door to the restricted area to open slightly. What they saw resembled scenes from a science fiction movie, walls covered with sensor arrays, new generation robots without control wires, and 3 cars without Tesla logos, each covered with black nickel-colored fabric. One of the employees, unaware of the journalists, said into his walkie-talkie, "Status update, Orion is stable." This name later became a real mystery. Who is Orion? A new project? A new prototype? Or something we can't even imagine?
After Trump imposed those sweeping 25% tariffs on aluminum and steel imports, the European Union retaliating with tariffs on up to $28 billion of U.S. goods. Trump making it clear this isn't over, vowing to respond in kind with sweeping retaliatory tariffs early next month.
They're doing what they should be doing, perhaps, for the European Union, but it does create ill will. And as you know, we're going to be doing reciprocal tariffs. So whatever they charge us, we're charging them.
Canada also striking back with new tariffs on $20 billion worth of U.S. goods, mostly steel and aluminum, but also computers and sporting goods.
After the first footage was published, panic ensued. The video garnered millions of views, but within a few hours it was blocked at the request of the copyright holder. YouTube then restored the recording, but with some fragments blurred out. Users began sharing fragments on Telegram, Reddit, and private Discord channels. Some claim that Elon Musk's voice can be heard on one of the recordings. Others are convinced that this is the beginning of a new phase. Tesla is no longer just a car manufacturer. It is a company working on something that does not even have a name yet.
Well, this feels more like a Tesla-only story when you look at just this fall in EV sales for them, that they're suffering across Europe, down 45% in January. The wider EV market in Europe up 37%, so rivals are catching up and performing.
Today we will tell you what exactly was found inside the Tesla factory, why it is causing fear among competitors and excitement among investors. What is hidden behind the project codenamed Orion? Why are employees required to wear bracelets that block GPS signals? And why is Tesla creating its own power cells, unlike any other battery in the world? This is not just a leak. It is a glimpse into a future that we were supposed to see much later.
Spray paint to vandalize and make a statement. People in Southern California are getting notes on their Teslas, calling them complicit Nazis for owning electric cars.
It all started as a standard press visit. In April 2025, a small group of journalists and tech bloggers received an invitation to tour Tesla's Gigafactory in Austin, Texas. The formal reason was to present the updated assembly line for the Model Y and demonstrate new automation methods. The invitation looked like part of a PR campaign. Tesla once again intended to show the world that it was a leader, not only on the road, but also in manufacturing technology. The group was greeted by employees in uniforms bearing a triangular emblem, a symbol that would later raise many questions. They were led through a glass lobby where screens showed videos about the company's green mission, energy independence, and the future being created right there, within those walls. Everything was perfectly choreographed, but no one suspected at the time that this was just a facade, a cover for what lay deeper inside.
Well, you will hear people over in Europe say the new Model Y, the Juniper, could be a difference maker, but that's been in that market now for more than a month. And you would think that you would see a greater snapback if it's going to be a difference maker. Look, we could be wrong. It could be a difference maker once you get the sales for April, May, and June. But when you have a country like Norway, I think the sales were down something like 11% there. I mean, that's a very savvy EV consumer in Norway. And that's long been a strength for Tesla. Very small market, not huge volume, but I think almost all of the vehicles they sell there are electric. And they embraced Tesla long before others. And, you know, the reports there are not encouraging.
According to the original plan, the visit was supposed to take 2.5 hours. The journalists were accompanied by Tesla Puerto Rico managers and engineers who gave detailed explanations of each stage of production. Participants were shown how parts arrive on the conveyor belt, how robots precisely cut aluminum panels, and how electric motors are tested for wear and tear. Everything looked top-notch, but there was something strange about it, too perfect, too clean, too staged. One of the operators accompanying the journalists later admitted that the feeling of artificiality was so strong that he got the impression that the entire process had been set up specifically for the film crew's visit, and that it didn't work like that on normal days. But at the time, this was attributed to Tesla's typical perfectionism and attention to detail. That is, until one of the journalists noticed a strange elevator hidden behind a metal partition with a yellow warning sign.
371. Most were saying 350 to 360. Now they're coming in at 336,068. Production of 362,615. So for some point of reference here, you're going back to Q2, maybe Q1 of 2022 in terms of the last time that they had production this or deliveries this low for one quarter. So again, Tesla deliveries worse than expected at just over 336,000 deliveries in the first quarter. Guys, I'll send it back to you.
That's horrible. Can I just ask Phil, how about the Cybertruck? How's that doing? You got a little inventory there in the Cybertruck?
There were no buttons on the elevator. Instead, there was an unmarked touch panel. As he approached, the door remained closed, but a security guard standing nearby suddenly touched the panel, and the platform opened. He disappeared inside, and the door slammed shut immediately. It looked like access to an area that was not mentioned in the tour program. One of the technical specialists accompanying the group tried to explain it as a service logistics area, but his voice trembled and his eyes darted around. A few minutes later, the film crew noticed that one of the turnstiles in the adjacent corridor was not closed. A journalist from the German publication Autozukunft, without waiting for approval, headed inside. That's when the most unexpected thing happened.
Running around on stage with the Tesla stock price, where the stock price had gone in half. And he was overjoyed. What an evil thing to do. What a creep, what a jerk. Like who derives joy?
The corridor behind the turnstile was completely different from the rest of the factory. Instead of light gray walls, there were black walls covered with sound-absorbing material. Instead of standard industrial lighting, there were soft blue panels on the ceiling. And most importantly, there was no activity. Complete silence. It was as if the entire staff had disappeared. Through a glass window, he could see a huge room with a platform on which 3 cars were standing, covered with cloth. None of them had a Tesla logo. The bodies were made of an unusual matte metal, resembling titanium, with recesses where the door handles would normally be, but here the surface was completely smooth. One of the cameramen noticed a strange capsule-like device next to the platform, a cylinder with rounded edges covered with sensors. He started filming, but literally 20 seconds later, the signal disappeared. It later turned out that there was local wireless jamming in the area.
I mean, the things that he's doing is not trying to make America better. He's ruining our infrastructure, every department in our government. He's ruining, and he's right now destroying our economy. He's taken away all of our allies. We're a pariah in the world.
The camera managed to capture just a couple of fragments. One of them later spread on the internet a frame showing a logo and of an inverted letter O with 3 horizontal lines inside. This emblem has not been registered on any of Tesla's projects. According to unconfirmed information, it is associated with a program called Orion, a secret development that is not mentioned in the company's public patents. Allegedly, this project began back in 2022 as part of an initiative to create completely autonomous transport that is completely independent of drivers, external GPSC, and even traditional batteries. The first mentions of it appeared in corporate correspondence between Tesla China employees, where Orion was described as a rethinking of transportation. Rumors, speculation, theories before the visit, it all seemed like science fiction. But now that footage from inside has become available, albeit in a limited form, it has become clear that this is reality.
That's from the European Automobile Manufacturers Association. People just choosing with their wallets to not buy Teslas because of that Musk-Trump association. And actually here in London, an activist group called Everyone Hates Elon actually have been hacking bus stop signs with posters. I actually passed one yesterday. First, I wasn't quite sure what was happening, but it said the words 0 to 1939 in 3 seconds. Illusion here, 0 to 60 in like 3 seconds or something. But this poster was alluding to the start of World War II, and the image was of Musk giving that hand salute that we saw at Trump's inauguration that many have attacked as a Nazi gesture. Musk, though, has neither admitted or denied what he was doing. But we're seeing the knock-on effect of that anti-Musk anger across Europe and in terms of sales.
After returning to the official part of the tour, journalists were strictly restricted in their movements. Cameras were asked to be turned off, and the route was changed. According to eyewitnesses, one of the escorts even received a call from a Level 8 director, a term that had never before been used publicly in Tesla's hierarchy. On the way out, the group noticed a convoy of 4 unmarked security vehicles moving toward the closed area, and boxes labeled Cryo Level Red being unloaded from one of the trucks. No explanation for this label could be found in any public database, which only fueled interest.
Outperforming as well in some cases, doing better than Tesla. And you just have to think, how much more is this a sustained issue for Tesla going forward, given the fact that you have Elon Musk, who's been very forthright in his opinions, particularly weighing in on politics, particularly in Europe. We've just had the European elections, which Musk has been very focused on. But across the piece, when you look at the performance for Tesla in Europe, it's not just in small countries. There are a lot of countries where Tesla has been performing badly, including in Germany, in the UK, where it has been lagging, and Spain as well.
The tour ended without comment. Tesla did not issue any official statements for 24 hours. However, 3 days later, the company filed a lawsuit in the U.S. District Court for the Northern District of California against unknown persons for unauthorized filming and distribution of materials constituting trade secrets. This was the final confirmation that what had been filmed did indeed exist, and the company intends to hide it at all costs. At that moment, it became clear that the visit, which was supposed to demonstrate technological openness and stability, had turned into a leak that could change the perception of the entire industry. The secret became visible, and now it is impossible to stop the spread of questions.
Canada, the largest supplier of steel to the U.S., slapping new tariffs on $20 billion worth of U.S. goods that are sold in Canada. And the 27 countries of the European Union imposing retaliatory tariffs on up to $28 billion worth of U.S. goods sold in Europe, including Harley-Davidson motorcycles and Kentucky bourbon. President Trump with the Irish Prime Minister visiting the White House today. The president suggesting his tariffs won't stop here, saying, "Of course, I'm going to respond." And tonight, right here, the new poll showing 56% of Americans disapprove of President Trump's handling of the economy. The number's even worse now on the president's tariffs.
What is even more intriguing is that the same terminal featured a menu item called Neural Sync. Speculation immediately ran wild, ranging from a human-machine interface to a biometric control system. However, an engineer from Canada, who previously worked at Tesla Robotics, anonymously admitted in an interview that this could be a test integration of a new generation of neural interfaces. Such a system would allow the car not only to recognize commands, but also to anticipate the driver's actions before they are performed. This effectively means a symbiosis between machine and human technology that previously existed only in science fiction.
back to the White House. That has been fueling this anger, this frustration. Some even say disgust towards Musk, and they're taking it out on Tesla. Tesla now feeling the pain. But because of what's happening here in Europe, Tesla sales fell by nearly half across the continent just last month, 45%.
The market reaction to these findings was mixed. On the one hand, investors sensed a technological breakthrough on the horizon. Tesla's shares initially fell after the leak scandal, but began to rise again within a week, especially after rumors of pending patent applications for Helianca and Polarisos. On the other hand, such developments caused concern among competitors. Behind the scenes, Volkswagen and Toyota began talking about a technological crisis if Tesla really gains an advantage in autonomous systems and energy over the next 5 to 7 years. Several European Commission officials issued a statement on the need for tighter control over militarized technologies in the civilian industry, without mentioning Tesla directly, but clearly hinting at the leak.
Hey Diane, this investigation really just beginning, and one of the key elements will of course be the surveillance video, and investigators potentially have a lot of it to work with as they try to figure out what caused this fire. We know that surveillance footage has been turned over, including video from each of the cars, which could prove vital to understanding what happened here, because each vehicle has its own camera system that works even when the car is off, and 16 cars burned in this fire, and right now investigators don't know what caused it.
The situation in the US also heated up. The Department of Commerce officially requested clarification from Tesla regarding the leak. Congressman Jake Brooks delivered a harsh speech accusing the company of creating black zones on US territory where even federal agencies cannot gain access. According to him, the secret areas inside Tesla's factories are not just commercial secrets, but a potential threat to national security. In response, Tesla stated that all technologies are certified and comply with safety standards, but refused to disclose details of the development. The company itself clearly did not expect that an accidental photo turn a closed RD zone into an object of global interest and political pressure.
Over the last couple of months. But the other thing that this could potentially be is an attempt at readjustment or correction by the Trump administration, in that one of Trump's closest kind of allies and supporters, and someone who's clearly very influential in the administration, is coming out to kind of push back against the recently implemented policies. So I'm thinking, or maybe hopeful is the right word, that this might be a signal that the administration is considering walking back some of those policies.
But the scandal only fueled interest. Inside Tesla itself, security measures were tightened. According to sources, some of the employees working on the Orion project were transferred to other countries, and a fifth-level access control system was introduced at the Austin facility, requiring triple biometric authentication, including voice confirmation. All external communication channels were temporarily shut down, and even maintenance contractors were temporarily barred from entering the factory grounds. All this only confirmed that the Orion project was real, dangerous, and possibly Tesla's most ambitious development in its entire history.
But they are not ruling out the possibility that this was arson. At the same time, as you just mentioned, there are groups that have been organizing ongoing and peaceful protests at Tesla dealerships around the world. These demonstrations targeting Elon Musk and his affiliation with the Trump administration. Italy's prime minister is said to be close friends with Musk, and there were reports that Teslas have been vandalized in her hometown in Italy. Diane.
Thus, in just a few weeks, a brief unauthorized visit led to the exposure of a program that could change the future of transportation, digital security, and human interaction with machines. What had been hidden under layers of secrecy has now partially come to light. But if this is just the tip of the iceberg, the question arises, how far has Tesla really gone? And most importantly, who can stop it now?
Worse than expected, 336 and 68 vehicles, 336,068 vehicles delivered in the first quarter for Tesla. For a point of reference, the street was expecting, the street account was expecting, based on analyst expectations,
what began as an accidental leak from an industrial building in Austin had grown into an international scandal by mid-May 2025. Under pressure from Congress, the media, and technological competitors, Tesla found itself at the center of a debate about the acceptable limits of corporate secrecy. The main question grew louder: if the company already has autonomous transport platforms, secure neural network protocols, and new power sources at its disposal, who other than Tesla itself can control them? It was this feeling of a total lack of external oversight that became the main cause of political hysteria. Several senators demanded a federal investigation into Tesla's activities for creating closed technologies that could disrupt the balance of global technological security. Although Tesla refused to comment on the Orion project in public statements, an infrastructure of fear and suspicion was already forming around it.
KTLA Samantha Cortese joins us live with more on the wave of vandalism in protest of Elon Musk and his role in Washington. Sam?
Hi, Sharon, Micah. The ATF and FBI are collaborating with federal, state, and local law enforcement to investigate acts of domestic terrorism surrounding Teslas.
While politicians continue to discuss legal loopholes, Tesla continues to build roads that the state can no longer travel. And there are no lanes on these roads, no signs, no brakes, only forward movement, autonomous, distributed, irreversible. Step by step, the corporation has become an empire, not through weapons or votes, but thanks to code. And now the whole world must decide whether it is ready to live in a reality written not by legislators, but by engineers,